Hello, everyone. Welcome to Frog Talks, the inaugural Frog Talks, the beta. We're excited. We have a huge audience. Great speakers. We wanted to bring together some movement makers, some movement doers, some thinkers, people who have great ideas in order to inspire all of us to think about movements or starting our own movement. And I want to actually ask all of you if you'll stay. I know many might need to leave. Stay to the end because we are going to launch a beer movement. And you're not going to want to miss that. It's going to be pretty awesome. So, movements. You know, we're living in the age of movements. Of course, you look around this country and around the world, we are living at a time where there are movements everywhere, all over the place. And movements are like a force. They can be a force for good, or they can be a force for evil. It's a bit like Star Wars. How you use the force depends on you. And that's important because the truth is every single one of you in this room, every single individual, every company, every brand, every entrepreneur can create a movement, can identify, crystallize, align with, and spark a mass movement that reaches deep inside people and turns them on. It's like you reach inside, you flip a switch, and you're activated. And tears just appear. And boom, everything changes. And for good or for bad, nothing is ever the same. And the reason that's important is because we're living in a world with huge challenges. And sometimes we need to stop and realize that we need to say to you, here's an idea you need to hear. Or more importantly, here is something that you need to do. Or here is something that you need to do differently. Movements are based on ideas, or emanated from ideas, but they're grounded in action. That's what we're asking people to do. And all of you are movement makers. You can be movement makers because you are dreamers of dreams. And that's where it starts. And today, this whole event is intended to inspire you. And we have some extraordinary speakers who are going to give us some really great insights. Now, this lovely creature on my right is here to remind us of our attention span. We look at the goldfish who has an attention span of 8 seconds. Human beings, we have an attention span of less than that. So the reason why we have him here is to remind us why we started Frog Talks. We want to have the shortest talks on the planet. Big movement ideas, super short and sharp talks. Why is it important to help the underprivileged have access to education? What does it mean to them? And what does it say about us? To answer those questions, I'd like to invite Yvette Cook up to the stage. Yvette runs Usher's New Look. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Yvette a warm welcome.
Yeah. Well, hello and welcome. This is really a pleasure for me to be here with you guys today. I really consider myself a humanitarian. For my whole entire life, I've been dedicated to working and serving others that were underserved. And right now, I'm on a mission to really help with this whole thing called generational poverty that a lot of people really don't want to talk about. And at the crux of that, I'm working with an organization called Usher's New Look that's been around for 18 years doing phenomenal work specifically with youth. So this movement that I'm going to talk to you about today is really all about transforming mindsets, transforming the mindsets of youth who right now are in the midst of a crisis. Let me talk to you about that for a moment. More than 1 million students drop out of school every single year annually. And if you're black or you're brown, you're 6 times more likely to drop out of high school and not finish. And then from a sheer population perspective, this is a big number, but more than 45 million Americans live at or below poverty. So what's that threshold? For a family of one, $11,550 annually. Family of 4, about $24,550 annually for 4 people. That's what they're living off of. It's very, very challenging. And the reason that it's so important that we really help our youth in this crisis is because if we don't do it today, we're going to pay for it eventually. The prison pipeline is really set by youth who don't have the same access and exposure to fill themselves or to pull themselves out of their positions. So one of the wonderful, amazing things that I get to do every single day is to work with youth to impact their lives, to show them that there is an alternative. So how do we do this? Well, it's not easy transforming mindsets. Because if you think about it, if someone has told you from the time you were a little bitty that you're not smart, you're never going to amount to anything, you're never going to be anything other than what you are, that's what you've always heard, that's what you always believe. So we come into the lives of students when they're about 8th grade, before they go into high school, and a lot of our kids tell us, it's not about if I drop out, it's when I drop out. So we're trying to get in front of them before they've made that final decision to drop out of school. So at the middle of this transformation guideline that we use, or hierarchy, education really is the key. Education is centrally important. So let me throw a few numbers at you. 80% of prisoners right now today, 80% of them do not have a GED or did not finish college, okay? And in California, I think the number is about 23% are completely illiterate, and on average, most prisoners on average have an 8th grade education. So for every student that we're able to put through this transformation, that's one less student to break into your car, your business, to rob you on the street corner. And there's one less person that we all eventually end up paying for when they go into the prison pipeline. So how do we do this work? Well, there are many amazing organizations out there doing work like what we're doing. And we just take a non-traditional approach. So what we do is we start with students around the 8th grade, and we help them identify their spark, their passion. What gets you up in the morning? What can you do all day long and never tire of doing? Now, most of the time, believe it or not, these kids know what that is. Sometimes they don't, and we help them figure out what that is. Because what we've demonstrated is, if a student can see relevancy in school and make a connection, then they stay in school. I'll give you a story. We had a young man who was interested, he wanted to work on the NASCAR circuit. He wanted to be a NASCAR mechanic. So what do? We took him out to a track and we let him spend the whole entire day with the NASCAR team. At the end of the day, he was just beaming. He was like, this is exactly what I want to do. He said, but I get now why I have to work on getting my math grades up, because how am I going to be able to calculate the velocity of the speed of the car to know what tire ratings to put on it if I don't learn my math? So this young man was a junior at the time. He went back to school. He finished high school. And while he was a senior in high school, he went to a technical college where he learned how to work on cars. When he graduated high school, he got a job. He now lives in North Carolina, and he's working with the NASCAR team. That's one example of many. I could go on and on and on, but the spark we have found is truly a key, an important key to changing the mindset. One of the other things that we found to be extremely valuable is a concept called peer-to-peer. So in all of the trainings, in all of the speaking, in all of the curriculum and the courses, there's never an adult standing in front of the students teaching them anything. It's their peers. It's their peers who've already matriculated through the program, who are exactly where they used to be, maybe only 2, 3, or 4 years ago, and they go, oh, so you were here 3 years ago. I remember you when I first came into high school, and now you're, oh, a sophomore in college? Oh, now you're the global ambassador of youth and you're traveling the world? So it's instant credibility, instant connectivity, and now youth see themselves becoming something more than they ever thought they could be. So those are kind of the keys of what we do. And along the pathway, we really, really push service and how critically important it is. You must reach back and bring others up. And that really is about the work that we do. There are many youth organizations out here that are doing amazing things. We're just one of many. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do is get involved. Because I always believe you start the beginning with the end in mind. And at the end of the day, we want our outcomes to be strong and powerful. We want our kids to see themselves differently. We want their self-efficacy to be lifted up. We want them to think there's nothing that I can't do because we've exposed them. And now they've become aware of a plethora of things that they can do that fall within an area that they're passionate about, something that they want to do, not something that the teacher thinks I should do or that my parents think I should do, but what am I excited about doing? So at the end of this process, what do we get? We get kids that think differently, they speak differently, they act differently, they behave differently. As opposed to looking for a gang to join, they look for a community organization to volunteer with. Many of the students actually are entrepreneurs who've started their own businesses before they've gotten out of college. Some of them have started their own nonprofits. It's been so wildly successful that we've coined this term called disruptivator. And we hope that we're building a whole new generation of disruptivators. It's simply a young person on a mission to make the world a better place. So I invite you all to join us. Join this movement. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, you know, I really want to do something, but I'm not sure how to get started, call me, email me. I'd be happy to introduce you to an organization in your community. And then the second thing I'm going to ask you to do is expose a student, even if it's just one student. Take that student into your world. Let them see what you do. Expose them to your company and let them have access to a world that they ordinarily would have never had access to. So I'm going to leave you with this quote. Nelson Mandela, to me, is one of the greatest men of all time. And I think he put it the best. Education really is the greatest weapon we have to make change in the world. So thank you for allowing me to tell you about what I'm doing, and I'd love to have a conversation with you afterwards. Thank you.
Yvette Cook, thank you so much.